You are watching Foxx Play Game. And here's your host with the most fur, Foxx Psycher. Hi guys. I'm Foxx Psycher, your host with the most fur, obviously. And here today, I just want to go over some things. Like why I favor consoles over PC gaming, and why I don't think it's actually out the door like a lot of people say. So, and this is gonna be like kind of a difficult one to go around, and I'm kind of going off the cuff here. I'm not trying to do anything crazy, but just me in front of the camera with my furry face and everything, and talking everything. But a lot of people I see online constantly talk about how digital media is the new norm, how that's where everything is heading to. We're all going to be like Game Pass and, subscription based, or like Valve, just pure digital media. And I think that's a very shallow vision of the future of gaming. I don't think companies like Sony or PlayStation Sony or Nintendo, rather, will ever quite go out, right? I think physical media, in a way, is taking a backseat because we all know and can see kind of like what Nintendo is doing. But let me just start by saying that, a lot of my history when it comes to gaming has to do with the past. Like, if I asked like 100 of my friends what their favorite game of all time is, it's usually a console game. It's hardly ever a PC game or a mobile game. Now, I'm not saying that your favorite game isn't a PC one. I'm sure there's plenty out there that like that kind of thing, like RTSs and the frames per second and the whole ray tracing thing. But the thing about with consoles, in my mind, is that it's about identity and brand. Like, when we look at the PlayStation 3 era, right? We talk about it's very distinctly like 2008-ish, right? Like, we can look at a PlayStation 3 and have that memory, that nostalgia for that time period. It's something that we can point to. It's a ritual, right? And PC is more, in my opinion, like a hobbyist kind of approach to gaming. For example, we could say that you could turn on a console, right, and hear that nostalgic chime of the PlayStation beep, the swoosh of the Xbox as you turned it on, the click on the new Nintendo Switch. These things are very identifiable and to an era, right? PC doesn't really have that per se. I mean, unless if we're talking like old games like Raptor for PC, like 386 PC games that are very old and maybe don't even function in today's computers. Who knows? But my main point is, um, gaming with consoles is part of that ritual. You sit down in front of your TV, you pop in a game, you hear that time click, whatever, and you're straight into gaming. No customization, no having to worry about drivers, no having to find that happy medium to find, between performance and graphical fidelity and all that other hobbyist mindset. Now, I don't think that digital is the all future that we think it is, or at least not how we perceive it. Like, Microsoft would like us to have us believe that subscriptions are the future, much like Netflix and such has been the future of how we engage with movies and film and all that. But I think that's a very, very shallow vision of the future, and I don't think that's quite it. At least not for everyone. Um, Sony is very much a technology company in the entertainment industry as a whole, right? They make games, but they also make products. They make the PlayStation. Without PlayStation, Sony would bankrupt themselves. Easy. If they released just everything on PC day one, gave up on PlayStation, their profits would do. You know what I mean? So, Fox, what would you say is the future of gaming then, right? And my vision is not so shallow. I actually fully believe that things like alternate, or not alternate, but augmented reality and virtual reality will become a lot more profitable, or prominent. That's what I meant. Prominent in the future, and affordable. So as these things get easier and more affordable, I think this is actually the true future of gaming. Some sort of peripheral that puts us in the game, or adds depth to games. Like augmented reality, you could have virtual overlays and HUDs and all kinds of different things, adding depth with shadows, even on old games. So I don't think it's out the door yet. Like I think there will always be a demand and need for consoles. Okay, I don't think it's out the door. I don't think they're losing all that crazy money that you guys are thinking. Earlier, I think it was yesterday or early this morning. It's hard to tell these days. But somebody mentioned like this game would have sold so much more if it was on PC day one. Like if they didn't have to wait a year or two for the PC port to come, it would have sold crazy and wildfire when it was fresh in the public consciousness. And I don't really think that's true. I think it would have sold just about as much. You guys are coping. You guys want like Bloodborne to come to PC so you can crack it and like get it for free anyway. No, just kidding. But people act like it's gonna do crazy numbers, and it probably still would have sold only less than 10 million copies anyway. And I just get the feeling that people are getting the wrong idea, and maybe we're indoctrinated into it. I mean, there has been a huge push to get us into digital only formats. And it makes some people wonder, well, why get this $700+ gaming machine instead of just saving up a little extra and getting a PC? Well, we can look at even a PlayStation 5 and be able to tell this was that generation of gaming. When it comes to PC, it's all over the place. every game almost, right? There's no identity to it. And I think Xbox is losing its identity by doing this very process that they're doing. I mean, when everything is an Xbox, nothing is. It might as well be a PC at that point. But when it comes to like Sony and Nintendo, I think it's a little bit different. They have history. They have a base that's been long established over time and dedicated fans. I mean, we've console warred over this for a long time. And exclusives are a good thing. I like exclusives. I like knowing that the product I buy has something exclusive to it, even if it's just for a short while. It gives that product value. And, you know, they're like Spider-Man 2 here, right? This is the launch edition too. I got it day one. I had to, right? But would it have sold very much more on the PC side if it was released day one on PC? I don't think so. But there's a kicker to this. If they ever do decide to shift to PC and console same day releases, that means that their actual base, their supporting base, the PlayStation base, are going to be the ones who are actually making up the slack here. We're going to be the ones who will have to wait longer for games to get released just to optimize it for the double dipping ground that is PlayStation or PC. I don't think that's very fair. And a lot of these products are made specifically for the PlayStation 5 to begin with. And it's easier to make a game for one dedicated gaming machine than it is to make it for all the kinds of configurations of PCs that exist out there, okay? So it's going to take some time to optimize for those, right? If they decide to release that PC at all. And I don't think every game should, to be honest. Just how it goes. Is there any shortage of PC games out there? Are you guys jonesing? Do you need that new PlayStation release day one really? You can't wait. Do you really think it would sell so much more if it was on PC day one? I got my doubts, man. Like, you're gonna have to make a pretty compelling case. And you can mention like Helldivers 2, but that's a live service game. That's a whole different can of worms, man. Final Fantasy 16 is one of the best PC ports out there from PlayStation and Sony, and it wasn't released day one, mind you. But it didn't do crazy numbers to begin with on PC. On PS5, it was hit and miss, but and Square likes to complain, but Square always complains. They're always not making up their projected numbers. They got moon high expectations there at Square Enix, okay? Like, and I think it was like 5 million copies the first week sold of FF16 on PS5, which at the time, if you think about there's 50 million consoles out there, to sell to 10% of that, that's quite a big a number to consider, maybe we need to lower our budgets, expand the lifespan of consoles, if anything, because we're hitting that point of diminishing returns. Like, we saw the PS5 Pro, and a lot of us, besides complaining it's digital only are kind of going like, what's the point? So we get this incremental upgrade, right, of like more frames or PSSR, or which is their DLSS equivalent, right? What's it matter? It's not worth the upgrade for a lot of people, and I totally understand that. I am in no rush to get a PS5 Pro. The PS5 is good enough for me. And at what point is good enough good enough? We can talk about graphics and all that jazz, right? And how much we need to increase on that and increase the value of products. But it's just taking way too much time, man. It already takes 5 some years to make a competent AAA title, and millions of dollars spanning thousands of developers. And it just takes so much time and money to make the games as they are. If we accelerate to the PS6 and it's just an incremental upgrade, Sony is a lot of hard times ahead of them. And if physical is out the door, I know a lot of people will just drop off and consider a PlayStation 5 down good enough to last them for a lifetime. There's games in our backlogs miles long. We all have them. And we could very well play those happily without playing anything new from PlayStation 6 or whatever Xbox is going to fart out or, whatever comes out to PC. We don't really need to play the newest and greatest to be fulfilled or happy or, gaming inspired. But it's a lot of people too. Like why are you buying PlayStation games, PS1 games, right? You can just emulate them. Why own PS3? Why even buy physical media? I hear a lot of people saying nowadays with even the PS5. They're like, this is just an over glorified CD key. Like, no, this has at minimum version 1.0 on the disc. I can install it without internet and play it from beginning to end. Will it be glitchy? Will it have issues? Of course. Without updates, that kind of thing happens. But we can still download these updates now. We can future preserve our products. Isn't this why they gave us like the option of secondary SSDs? So we can kind of preserve our media and keep it flowing, Another thing too is I have a lot more attachment to this than a file on a PC. I have more attachment to this than I do a ROM. And I can emulate all kinds of PlayStation 3 games, Xbox 360 on my computer. I have a beast of a computer. I'm not sure a lot of you are aware of this, but I don't always use it for gaming because I don't have nostalgia for gaming. I have nostalgia for old Nintendo. I have nostalgia for old PlayStation. I have I look at Nightmare Creatures here, and I remember a time, an era when this existed, brand new, and how exciting and revolutionary it felt. I don't get this way with PC. And I've owned many PCs over the years. Like back in the day, back in high school, I had a Pentium 4 processor with 512 megabytes RAM, 50 gigabytes of hard drive space, with a Voodoo 3 3000 card. That was top of the line back then. Well, ish, right? That computer now is a potato. But you know what's not a potato? A PlayStation 2. A PlayStation 2 is just as good as it was years ago as it is today. Pop that sucker in, pop in a disc, memory card, freaking grab that controller, and it's just like you're right back in that time. I can't do that with PC. I don't feel that way. I feel it's disingenuous to even begin to think of buying digital games specifically if I don't have a choice. I feel dirty doing it, even if it's on sale. Like, I'm no stranger to buying digital media, okay? I do buy that too. But oftentimes it's either out of necessity, like when Alan Wake 2 launched, or Black Myth Wukong. There wasn't physical copies to begin with. Now there is, but that's just, because we have a demand for that. Anyways, I'm probably blabbing on and on, but I just wanted to relay that, I don't think consoles are dying. I think it's just changing, and I don't want it to move too quickly. And I think the future of gaming isn't as shallow as Xbox would like us to believe, or Valve, and other people. I think that the future of gaming is truly going to be a next gen experience. Like, there's got to be some innovation that's above what a subscription service can offer. And let me give you a quick example. I know I'm rambling on, but let me give you a quick example. We all say Netflix is the example of digital future, right? For the most part, it's true. A lot of the time that when we're watching movies or film or TV, we're doing so digitally, and we're doing it through streaming services. That's true. But the value of a DVD is much higher to me, and it should be to consumers. Why? Well, DVDs have bonus features. They have deleted scenes. They have all these things that are packed in to make it valuable. Like, back in those days, they had to. They had to give you reasons to move up from VHS. And that's part of what DVDs offered. You had extra trailers and all kinds of interactive menus and things like that. You don't get that with Netflix. And there's also a sense of value. I have Game Pass Ultimate, so I can play on PC, I can play on, my son's Xbox, but I don't value games that come to Game Pass. I just don't. If I find a game that I find valuable, that I want to own or have or play, it's usually I buy it physical whenever possible. But not with Xbox, because they don't seem to care about having, this level of, tangibility. A lot of the games on Xbox are specifically just CD keys. And a lot of people bring up Switch too, and I get it. Okay, this seems to be a weird way to fuse physical and digital. I don't completely understand it either. Why they're going this route, but I think part of it is that they just want everybody into their ecosystem. But you know what? Those Switch 2 NSO goes down, that thing becomes a brick. Xbox stops supporting Game Pass for Series S, that thing becomes a brick. You know what I mean? Uh, am I just old man yells at cloud? Am I too, blinded by nostalgia and seeing things through rose tinted glasses? Is my vision of the future with AR and VR so out of the perplexing thought process of a future that's better than subscription services? Does it even matter to you? Let me know in the comments. This is Foxx stopping the babbling and signing off. See you guys.